Hi, welcome to the Fit and Healthy Today show, and today our topic matter is shingles, a most painful experience. And I can speak because I had it when I was 16 years old. More painful than having any of my 3 sons. Full 2 weeks of solid nothing but nerve pain. So, we're going to discuss what causes it, what we can do to the symptoms that you get it, and what we can do to get it gone and stay gone because it's miserable. It is a viral infection. It's called herpes zoster. It is the same as the chickenpox vaccine. And what happens is this virus lays on the spine, and it kind of just waits and waits until your immune system falls so far that bottom line is it's activated. It manifests itself as a very painful blistering rash on the skin. 1 in 5 seniors will get shingles. I was only 16 and I had a very mild case of chickenpox, so I don't know whether that has anything to do with it, but my 3 sons, they had massive amounts of chickenpox, so hopefully as a result they won't see the shingles outbreak. We're talking about weakened immune systems as being the primary trigger for this herpes zoster all of a sudden to come into play and cause the massive pain. Stress, traumatic events, a parent, spouse, child dying in your life, trauma of any kind, an auto accident, a car accident, surgical procedures, cancer drugs or immunosuppressants can cause shingles. HIV, which obviously is an autoimmune issue or immune disorder. Anything that involves the immune system not functioning at its full capacity, shingles can be triggered. The symptoms, and I put them in order of how they appear on the body. First of all, you'll notice you're kind of sensitive on one side of the body more than the other, sensitive actually to the touch. Then you kind of get a fever, chills. You think maybe you're just kind of fighting the flu. Then the fun happens. You get extreme pain and the clear blisters. And these can occur for me. They occurred right along my bra line. Extremely painful. And then as they go on over the next few weeks, because they are there for weeks, the blisters turn yellow, scab all over, and then they eventually fall off. You think you have some kind of incurable disease, but all I know is what happens is you get these shooting pains of nerve pain like you've never had before. So avoiding shingles, that's what you want to do. If you get shingles or you have had shingles or reoccurring shingles, eating a diet high in B vitamin, things that contain B vitamins, including wheat, germ, brewer's yeast, eggs, whole grains. The B vitamins help bolster the immune, but they also help you deal with physiological and emotional stress. Eating green, orange, and yellow vegetables every meal. If you get shingles, every meal, and I would make it 5 meals, should have the alkaline vegetables in the diet. Because otherwise, if you stay or eat acidic foods, that little rascal virus, it's going to hang around even longer and cause you more pain. In addition, when the body's in an acidic state, the pain rises tremendously, and that's whether you have arthritis, whether you have anything. And also the immune system. It can't fight anything off. Like I've mentioned before, 1 teaspoon of sugar suppresses the immune system for 4 to 6 hours. So if you get shingles, you want a good wholesome diet, whole grains if you're not allergic to them, easy to digest proteins, and lots and lots and lots of veggies. Now, there are some naturopathics that will also put you on, and I cut it off, detoxification. They'll literally run you through to try and remove this as fast as they can. Put you on green drinks, unsweetened cranberry juice, anything to alkali the blood. That's one option, or else you can eat tons and tons and tons of veggies. That's the option I prefer. I was 16. My parents didn't know about it. Giving you this information, I'm hoping if you do get it, that we can stop it from occurring immediately as fast as we possibly can. Supplement-wise, all of these that I have listed here have double-blind placebo studies on them, whether U.S.-based or outside the country based, which we see a lot of outside the country based research, more so unpharmaceutical sponsored is what we kind of want. The very first one that's listed on here is one of the most popular ways and the best ways to stop it from ever coming to fruition or to its completeness of unbearable pain. And that's to get 5 to 15 grams of calcium ascorbate, preferably in a powder. So what you're going to do, what I would do is I'd take that 5 grams and I'd do it 3 times a day. And when you start getting a little bit of super loose bowels, then you kind of back off the dosage, maybe down to 10 and back down. But this will really ignite the immune system. Boom! And that's the whole purpose. We got to ignite that immune system to keep that zoster virus from coming to full fruition. You combine that with 500 to 1,000 milligrams of L-lysine 3 times a day. And L-lysine, remember, it needs to be on an empty stomach. We can hopefully keep it coming from fruition, especially if we can catch it early. A lot of people, obviously, most of us have never had shingles before, and it's one of those once-in-a-lifetime things as a general rule. And so we don't really know what we're battling initially when it comes on. But if you suspect that, these are the first 2 lines of defenses besides alkalining the diet that I would do. Topical application for pain, and you think, cayenne, capsaicin cream, doesn't that burn? But in the right mixtures that we get in a cream form, topically applied 2 to 4 times a day, it can be utilized to help you with the pain associated with the shingles, and you put it directly onto the shingles. You may notice a little bit of warmness or almost a little light, mild burning on it, but it does soothe them. Natural vitamin E helps with the pain, but it also prevents very bad cases of neuralgia. Shingles can lead to neuralgia, which is a nerve disorder where you will have chronic pain not for 2 weeks, but for potentially a lifetime in a nerve. So I'd slam down that 800. Some studies went as high as even 2,000 IUs of vitamin E. Obviously, if you're on blood thinners, vitamin E thins the blood, so you got to talk to your doc about that one or your healthcare professional. Sublingual B12, 1 to 5, and that should say micrograms. I'm sorry, milligrams, or 1,000 to 5,000 micrograms per day, helps the body recover more quickly and the nerves to recover more quickly. And you do it in a sublingual form, in a methyl form, not a cytocobalamin, but in a methyl form of B12, which is 10 times more absorbable. Suck it under the tongue, don't chew it. It's going to help that nerve repair itself so that it can get reconnected again. As far as things that help fight the virus from an antiviral standpoint, research olive leaf extract, 500 milligrams 4 times a day. Olive leaf is used and been studied for a multitude of different types of viruses. Olive leaf as in the olive tree, that's where it comes from, but in an extract form. Beta-1,3-D-glucan. We use this, or physicians recommend this for cancer, for anybody who is immune compromised. And the beta-glucans help the body, they teach the T cells to be able to identify friend from foe. And so instead of having a bunch of guys out there with carbines, the beta-glucan sends them out there, Navy SEALs with submachine guns. It can identify friend from foe and better help your immune system attack the virus. B-complexes for nerve health. Now, B-complex for blood pressure, B-complexes for a lot of things. B-complex are, and usually a B100 2 to 3 times a day, helps with nerve health, nerve repair, and physiologically helps you once again to deal with pain. I have even pharmacists that'll send people in to get B-complexes to help them with arthritic pain. And you wouldn't think of it in those terms, but yeah, it helps. Licorice root destroys the virus. Now, diglyceride does not raise the blood pressure. Licorice root can. And we're talking from the licorice plant, not the licorice candy. But licorice root is very antiviral for herpes simplex and herpes zoster. Vitamin A. And I know a lot of doctors are going to go, oh my God, look at the high doses of vitamin A that she has written down there. And these are clinically studied once again. Vitamin A in large doses for long periods of time does store around the liver, so we don't want to do it a long period of time. But if we, while we're fighting the infection for a couple weeks, do 50,000 IUs for 2 weeks, and then reduce it down to 25,000 IUs, only 10,000 if you're pregnant. You cannot do excessive vitamin A when you're pregnant. There's some studies on that, and kind of mixed reviews, so I wouldn't exceed that amount. But trying to stimulate, vitamin A helps the body fight off infections, so whether you've got acne or any kind of infection, vitamin A helps with infection. Particularly in a combined form with zinc, helps viruses fight off. You've probably seen these nasal sprays and things that you can get that have zinc in them. Zinc helps the body fight off viruses. Actually, zinc, vitamin A, vitamin C, and something a lot of people don't talk about very much, vitamin D as far as for infection. You think, okay, vitamin D helps me with my bone health. Yeah, I know that. I've read the research. But vitamin E is very vital as well for tissue repair. 2,000 to 5,000 IUs. So most people in this country are vitamin D deficient. So, okay, we got the bones crumbling and we have the tissue crumbling. A real good combination. So anyway, everybody should be doing a little additional vitamin D. The D2 found in the milk, worthless. Not even an absorbable form. But D3, particularly in the latitude and longitude we live in, we tend to be a little under D3, and that can keep the immune system down and prevent tissue repair. So when you're fighting this, lots of D3. Colloidal silver, it's a natural antimicrobial that you can take internally that kills viral, fungal, and bacterial infections. And there are colloidal silver ointments that you could also use, and actually you could even mix in with your capsaicin or your cayenne ointment to help heal the wound as well. I've seen physicians, and there is a prescription one that you can get that they'll use it on diabetic ulcers or wounds that won't heal that are colloidal silver based. Grapeseed extract. Now this is a real good thing. It decreases the number of blisters and protects the skin cells. Grapeseed extract's a lot of research on it for capillary support and tissue repair. So if you can decrease those number of blisters and the amount of zinging nerve pain that you have associated with shingles, oh, thank goodness, because then obviously you're going to have less pain. There are a lot of other things that I didn't mention on here that can help bolster immune system or fight off. Oregano oil, garlic, all of those things have research on them as well that can help you fight off this mean, evil virus. Anyway, that's going to conclude our portion for shingles. Next, we're going to be moving on to the fitness portion of our show. Welcome to the fitness portion of our show, and today I'm going to be demonstrating an exercise that will work actually all the way from the top of your knees all the way through your abs, your butt, your quads, your hamstrings. So it's a pretty complete exercise actually with very, very little movement. So what I do is I put my hands on the floor. You know, I'm not a person who likes to put the hands flat on the floor because if I do, it really bothers my wrists. So I try to keep my wrists straight as much as I possibly can by kind of doing a little bit of a fist down on the ground instead. And so when we do the fist on the ground, I don't involve the wrist so much. So what we do on this one, very simple, very easy, takes very little strain. Obviously, if you have sensitive knees, you're going to have to kind of feel this one out a little bit and see whether or not it's within your range to do. Very simple exercise. I'm down like this. I put my leg extended out like this, out, in, okay? And if you're really rambunctious, you can do both of them at the same time, but I'd probably take my mic out if I did that. If you could give a try of about, I would say probably 12 repetitions, 2 to 3 times every other day, boy, I think you're going to see some real toning actually across your quads, in your butt. And if you want to, as a modification of this exercise, You can just get up in the nice push-up position and just kind of hold it nice and taut like that, and you're going to hold your abs in, squeeze the butt. I'm going to try and do that. Squeeze your butt as much as you can, and you're going to feel your upper body, your abs, and your quads involved in that exercise as well. Anyway, next we're going to be moving on to the research portion of our show. Thank you. Hi, welcome to the research portion of our show, and got lots of stuff to talk about. And with us today is Ralph Turchiano. Ralph?
And thank you very much for that intro. Well, the next new fad that looks like maybe hitting pretty soon, at least I should say personal care hairlines. Well, researchers in Europe discovered what causes gray hair. And you'd be surprised to know it is not age, as we particularly tend to believe. What it is, ironically, is that each hair follicle in your head produces something called hydrogen peroxide. Now, I guess people that deal with bleaching hair and things along those lines realize that hydrogen peroxide actually takes the color out of hair. Well, your body normally breaks this hydrogen peroxide down through an enzyme called catalase, which simply breaks it down to basically water and oxygen. But however, as a person ages, potentially, or gets sick or has some other stress, the catalase levels, this is the enzyme that breaks the hydrogen peroxide down, begins to go down. Now what that means is the hair follicle begins to retain the hydrogen peroxide, which in turn interferes with an amino acid called tyranase, or I should say an enzyme called tyranase. Why is tyranase important? It produces melanin. And melanin is what gives your hair color. So, build up a hydrogen peroxide, due to the fact there's not enough catalase, tyranase gets reduced because the hydrogen peroxide damages that enzyme, and then with no tyranase, you produce no melanin, your hair loses the color. What you'll probably see, I wouldn't be surprised, watch out, a lot of new shampoos out there that are going to try to get catalase, this enzyme, to the root, so you can bust that hydrogen peroxide down, and henceforth, maybe even restore color to your hair. Watch it. Just give it about 6 months or so. And a reconfirmation of vitamin A. Now, vitamin A was discussed earlier, but the Emory Vaccine Center and Erkey's National Primate Research Center have discovered what vitamin A is very important for in the body. They discovered vitamin A deficiencies are directly now related to, and they say, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and type 1 diabetes. You remember a lot of our research in the shows were always alluding to vitamin A in that connection, especially in type 1 diabetes in children. They couldn't figure out why. Well, now they realize the vitamin A that so many of us were afraid to take for various reasons, especially smokers and so forth, may actually need to be reevaluated, especially in individuals with autoimmune type diseases. Very good research and finally confirmed just recently. Also, exercising your brain. A lot of us are terrified of Alzheimer's and memory type or like disorders. Well, those people, they found out that watched several or more hours of TV per day. Now, I'm talking TV, not computer games, not magazines, not reading books, and so on and so forth. Those people that just let their minds sit and entertain without any interaction had 50% less capacity for memory by the time they hit the age of 70. And basically, the memory loss was profound. It did not take a lot. And keep in mind, this was published in the American Academy of Neurology's 61st annual meeting in Seattle. And they said, quote, people who watch television for less than 7 hours a day in the later years were 50% less likely to develop memory loss than people who watched more than 7 hours a day. If you're watching 7 hours of TV a day, you need to really evaluate your life. But otherwise, after that, really good for kids and concert goers. This is actually kind of cool. A lot of the segment's going to be on vitamins because a lot of research came out on vitamins just recently. This is one interesting. Vitamin supplements may protect against noise-induced hearing loss. This is at Association for Research in Otolaryngology's annual conference out of Baltimore. This just came out a week ago. They said, quote, the supplements used in research studies are composed of antioxidants, beta-carotene, vitamin C, and vitamin E, and the mineral magnesium. When administered prior to exposure to loud noise, the supplements prevented both temporary and permanent hearing loss, at least in animals to start. They also said, quote, and I'm going to quote it because it's fairly important, so I want to make sure I get it accurate as possible. What is appealing about this vitamin cocktail is that previous studies in humans, including those demonstrating successful use of supplements protecting eye health, which will come up a little bit later on, have shown that supplements of these particular vitamins are safe for long-term use. And they figured, well, 26 million Americans have some sort of hearing damage. But what was most interesting about the study is they discovered why hearing loss truly occurs. They said, quote, that they used to think it was intense vibrations that began to damage the delicate structures of the ears. They found out that actually hearing loss was caused by free radical damage to the ear. So, henceforth, the beta-carotene, the C, and the E, and the magnesium, you may say, they added just because it enhanced circulation of blood to the ear itself. So they rediscovered what caused hearing loss. And again, this is also done in collaboration with the University of Michigan. Another interesting side note, and this is a caveat, was again to salicylic acid and vitamin E. And I want to bring this part up to you because it's also part of the research, and this is fairly important to people that have noise damage or their hearing is damaged after the fact, if you're not doing your vitamins per se. They discovered, quote unquote, so we stay legally clean, we found that the antioxidant combination of vitamin E and salicylic, the active agent in aspirin, effectively prevented cell death and permanent noise-induced hearing loss even when treatments were delayed up to 3 days after the noise insult, is how they said. So, if you go a big concert goer, big music lover, like gearing up that iPod or whatever it is, really focus on your beta-carotene, C, E, and magnesium, and if something happens afterwards, explosion, loud noise, get a little bit of E and aspirin. It seems to be really cool, at least so far on the guinea pigs and animals. All right, celiac disease. They know that celiac disease is also, people with celiac disease tend to have a condition called homocysteemia, can't pronounce it properly. But they found out and wanted to look at your vitamin Bs, your B6, your B12, your folates, because they realized that those can help lower homocysteines in the blood. Of course, the research hasn't been as good as with cardiovascular disease, but in celiac disease, it's quite interesting. They found out that this combination of B vitamins, by reducing homocysteine levels down in the gut, directly basically prevented villous atrophy. Now, it may not be a big thing to people that don't have celiac disease, but if you got it, there is help, and there's something that can work. And again, this is your typical vitamins. B complex would be easier than just trying to remember B6, B12, and folate acid. Just make sure the quality is good. And again, vitamin B and folic acid, a reduced risk of age-related vision loss. Obviously, through these studies, you're going to find that if you're not doing your vitamins, it may not be a bad time to start. All right, according to a report in the February 23rd issue of the Archives of Internal Medicine, it was also one of the JAMA, or Journal of American Medical Association, archive journals that just came out. Recent studies have drawn a connection between macular degeneration and blood levels of homocysteine once again. High levels of homocysteine are associated with dysfunctions of the blood vessel lining in the eyes. So, they want to extrapolate whether the B vitamins actually made a difference in preventing vision loss. And you may say, well, it may not, but most studies are inconclusive. Well, this study started in 1998 and ran through 2005. Long period of time. Very unfortunate for those that were not doing their B vitamins, because this is very tough to reverse. They found out women taking the supplements had a 34% lower risk of AMD and a 41% lower risk of visually significant AMD. And they said, quote, the beneficial effect of treatment began to emerge approximately 2 years after the follow-up. So when this study started in 1998, the people doing the B vitamins began to notice benefits for the vision by the year 2000, or at least the lack of loss of vision. Very intriguing. Such a simple fix. One B vitamin, you got 3 major ailments right there it works with. All right, now to broccoli. Not a vitamin, but still quite interesting. Broccoli and asthma. Well, you may ask yourself, what the heck would broccoli have to do with asthma? Well, UCLA researchers, again, most of the studies I bring up, this is recent research within about a week or two, have discovered that broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables protect against respiratory inflammation, particularly through a substance called sulforaphane. And they found out what this does is actually cause the production of antioxidants in the lungs and also, of course, upper parts of the throat. By doing this, it protected people that are prone to asthma from damage from tobacco smoke, diesel fumes, any other kind of inhalant, strong cologne, you name it, that could possibly trigger that asthma. Now, what they did use is they used broccoli sprouts, and they used as much as 200 grams of broccoli sprouts, which is a heck of a lot of broccoli sprouts. But they wanted to push it to the limit to see exactly how beneficial it can. Well, according to them, when they gave 200 grams of broccoli sprouts, it resulted in a 100 to 200% increase in the enzymes responsible for keeping inflammation, or basically asthma, under control. Pretty incredible. And what did they also say here too? Basically, according to authors, there were no serious side effects that occurred in any of the participants receiving broccoli sprouts. Sorry, kids. There's no escape for you. All right, now, another interesting aspect. And this is basically more of our attack phase, but it goes down to cholesterol-lowering medications. And this is important. Recent research out of Ames, Iowa, I should say the Iowa State University, and this is what they said. I want to do verbatim because this is a very touchy subject, so I don't want to embellish it at all. All right. Research by an Iowa State University scientist suggests that cholesterol-reducing drugs known as statins may lessen brain function. As we're going to go on, you're going to find that that may is going to go away. They say the results of a study show that drugs that inhibit the liver from making cholesterol may also keep the brain from making cholesterol, which is vital to efficient brain function. They also said, quote, if you deprive cholesterol from the brain, then you directly affect the machinery that triggers the release of neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters affect how that process data through the brain. So in other words, affecting how smart you are as well as memory. And also to add, if you try to lower cholesterol by taking medicine that's attacking the machinery of cholesterol synthesis in the liver, that medicine goes to the brain too. And that's the end of the segment. Thank you.
Wow. Good information, Ralph. Appreciate that very much. Thank you once again, and do your research. Pay attention. Thanks for joining the Fit and Healthy Today show.